The warning sirens screamed across Arcturus Station as another star system fell to the Vrelian Empire. Admiral Tae Yang stood in the command center, watching the holographic display turn from blue to red. That made 12 systems lost in just 3 days. The coalition was dying, and everyone knew it. Around the vast circular table, representatives from dozens of alien species argued in their native languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up with the chaos. Some demanded retreat. Others called for a final desperate attack. A few simply sat in silence, accepting their fate. Tai Young said nothing. He watched and listened, his dark eyes moving from speaker to speaker. Beside him, Captain Hyejin crossed her arms and shook her head. She had commanded the flagship Indomitable for 6 years, and she had never seen the coalition this broken. The Vrelian Empire had been expanding for 300 years. They conquered world after world, enslaving some species and destroying others. Their fleet was massive, brutal, and unstoppable. Every species in the galaxy feared them. Every species except one. Ambassador Krell, a tall creature with blue skin and 6 arms, slammed his appendages on the table. The room fell silent. His voice came through the translator with desperation clear in every word. "We have lost 2,400 ships in the last month," Krell said. "The Vrelian Armada numbers over 10,000 warships. They will reach Arcturus Prime in 72 hours. When they arrive, the coalition dies with us." A female representative from the Moth Collective stood up. Her wings trembled as she spoke. "What about Earth? What about the humans? They have ships. They have weapons. Why do they hide while we burn?" The room erupted again. Some shouted in agreement. Others argued that humans were a myth, that Earth did not exist. Tai Yang allowed himself a small smile. Humans were real enough. He was one of them. The coalition had discovered Earth 200 years ago. They sent diplomats, offered trade, extended invitations to join their union of worlds. Earth had politely refused. Humanity wanted to be left alone. They built their ships, developed their technology, and watched the galaxy from a distance. They traded occasionally, helped with small matters when asked, but never joined the great conflicts. Never picked sides. Never showed their true strength. Until now. Ambassador Krell turned to face Tae Yang directly. The alien's large eyes were wet with something that might have been tears. "Admiral, I know your people value their independence. I know Earth prefers isolation. But I am begging you. We need help. Without humanity, we will all die." Tae Yang finally spoke. His voice was calm and steady. "Ambassador Krell, I received orders from Earth Command 6 hours ago. A human fleet is already on its way." The room went completely silent. Every alien eye fixed on the human admiral. Krell's 6 arms trembled. "How many ships?" he whispered. 500 warships, Tae Yang said. "They will arrive in 68 hours. The Moth representative laughed bitterly. 500. The Vrelians have 10,000. What can 500 ships do against such numbers?" Tae Yang's smile grew wider, though his eyes remained cold. "You will see. Representative, you will all see." Captain Hyejin stepped forward and activated a small data chip. The holographic display shifted, showing recordings from Earth's last military exercise. The alien representatives watched in confusion as human ships moved in perfect coordination, firing weapons that created explosions far larger than anything Coalition technology could produce. Ships flickered in and out of existence, appearing kilometers away in an instant. "What kind of weapons are those?" Krell asked quietly. "Standard equipment," Hyejin replied. "Nothing special." Lieutenant Dongwu, who had been standing at his weapons console, looked up. He was young for his rank, barely 30 standard years, but his record spoke for itself. 217 combat engagements. 0 missed targets. "Permission to speak freely, Captain." "Granted," Hyejin said. "The Vrelians have never fought humans before," Dongwu said, his voice carrying across the silent room. "They do not know what we can do. That is their first mistake. Their second mistake is coming to this sector. Their third mistake is assuming we are weak because we are few." Dr. Nari, the fleet's chief scientist, worked at her station in the corner of the command center. She was older than the other officers, her hair showing streaks of gray, but her mind was sharper than ever. She had been developing new shield systems for months, waiting for permission to deploy them. That permission had finally come. "Admiral," Nari called out, "I am receiving confirmation from all our ships. The quantum targeting arrays are installed and calibrated. We will be ready when the fleet arrives." Commander Bo-Ra entered the command center, still wearing her flight suit. She had just finished drilling her Raptor squadrons through another combat exercise. Her pilots were the best humanity had ever produced. Fast, precise, and absolutely fearless. "Wing reports ready, sir," she said, saluting Taeyang. "All 400 fighters are armed and fueled." Taeyang nodded. He turned back to the coalition representatives, who were still trying to understand what they had seen in the recordings. "Ambassador Krell, I need you to do something for me." "Anything," Krell said immediately. "Pull all coalition forces back to Arcturus Prime. Form a defensive perimeter around the station. When the Vrillian fleet arrives, do not engage them. Let them come to us." "And your fleet?" Krell asked. "We will handle the Vrillians," Taeyang said simply. "Your forces have fought bravely for 3 years. You have earned a rest. Let humanity take the next watch." Over the following 2 days, coalition ships retreated to Arcturus Prime. Thousands of damaged vessels limped back to the station for repairs. Medical ships evacuated the wounded. Supply freighters distributed what little food and ammunition remained. Everywhere, alien soldiers and sailors whispered about the human fleet that was coming. Some held hope. Most expected disappointment. 500 ships could not stop 10,000. Mathematics did not lie. But humans did not think like other species. Humans did not fight like other species. And humans had spent 200 years preparing for a war the galaxy had never seen. Admiral Taeyang stood alone in his quarters aboard Indomitable, looking out at the stars. Earth was somewhere out there, 40,000 light-years away. His home, his world. For 2 centuries, humanity had watched the galaxy tear itself apart. They had remained hidden, built their strength, and waited for the right moment. That moment had arrived. Taeyang touched the small medal on his uniform, a gift from his grandfather who had served in Earth's last great war. The old man had told him something before he died. "When you fight, fight so completely that your enemies forget how to resist. Show them power so absolute that surrender becomes their only thought." The communication panel beeped. Heejin's face appeared on the screen. "Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting the human fleet. They will arrive in 30 minutes. "Excellent," Taeyang said. "Inform Ambassador Krell. Tell him the show is about to begin." Outside, in the darkness of space, 500 human warships dropped out of quantum slip drive at the edge of the Arcturus sector. They moved in perfect formation, silent and dark. No running lights, no communications, just cold metal and deadly purpose. The war was about to change forever. The human fleet appeared like ghosts in the night. 500 warships materialized at the edge of Arcturus sector, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Coalition sensors struggled to detect them. Even when they knew where to look, the human ships seemed to blur and fade from their displays. On Arcturus station, alarms blared. Panicked voices filled the command center. Unknown contacts had just appeared in their space, and for a terrible moment, the coalition forces thought a third enemy had arrived to finish them off. Ambassador Krell rushed to the sensor station, his 6 arms gesturing frantically. "Identify those ships. Are they Vralian reinforcements?" The sensor operator, a small creature with large eyes, shook his head. "Negative, Ambassador. The energy signatures are completely unknown. Nothing in our database matches them." Captain Hye-jin stood on the bridge of Indomitable, watching her crew work with calm efficiency. Around her, human officers monitored their stations in silence. No panic, no shouting. Just quiet professionalism. She touched her communication panel and opened a channel to Admiral Taeyang, who was preparing to address the coalition. "Captain, are we ready?" Taeyang asked. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Hye-jin replied. "Stealth systems are holding. They still cannot see us clearly. Good. Drop stealth in 10 seconds. Let them see what Earth has sent. Hee-jin smiled and gave the order. Across the human fleet, 500 warships deactivated their stealth systems simultaneously. Suddenly, the coalition sensors could see them perfectly. The alien crew members gasped. The human ships were not massive like Vrelian dreadnoughts. They were sleek, angular, and covered in armor that seemed to shimmer with energy. Power readings from each ship made the coalition vessels look like children's toys. Admiral Tae-yang opened a wideband communication channel that every coalition ship could hear. His voice was strong and confident. Coalition forces, this is Admiral Tai-yang of the Terran Federation. Earth sends its regards. We are here to help. On Arcturus Station, Ambassador Krell grabbed the nearest console for support. His legs felt weak. Relief and disbelief warred on his face. They actually came, he whispered. The humans actually came. The Moth representative stood beside him, her wings spread wide as she stared at the human fleet on the display. But there are only 500. How can 500 ships stop the Vrelian armada? Before anyone could answer, new alarms sounded. Vrelian scout ships had detected the human fleet. Long-range communications picked up the enemy transmissions as they reported back to their commanders. The coalition translators worked to decode the messages. Unknown fleet detected in Arcturus sector. 500 vessels. Small tonnage. Energy signatures abnormal. Analyzing. Tae-yang listened to the Vrelian transmissions with amusement. He turned to Lieutenant Dongwu at the weapons station. Lieutenant, target their scout ships. Let us introduce ourselves properly. Dongwu's fingers moved across his console. Targets locked, sir. 6 Vrelian scouts at maximum sensor range. Distance, 2 million kilometers. Firing solution ready. Fire when ready, Tae-yang said calmly. On a coalition observation ship, sensors picked up what happened next. 6 human destroyers, positioned at the edge of the formation, fired their railguns. Tungsten rods accelerated to 70% of light speed, guided by targeting systems that calculated every variable perfectly. The projectiles crossed 2 million kilometers in seconds. All 6 Vrelian scout ships exploded simultaneously, their hulls torn apart by kinetic impacts that released more energy than nuclear weapons. The coalition observers sat in stunned silence. That range was impossible. That accuracy was impossible. Everything they had just witnessed was impossible. Yet it had happened. Engineer Yuna worked deep in Indomitable's engine room, monitoring the ship's revolutionary power systems. She had helped design these reactors herself. They used principles that other species had not even discovered yet. As she watched the power levels, she smiled. They were running at only 15% capacity. Plenty of room for what was coming. Major Sang-woo stood in the Marine Bay, checking his troops. 3,000 Marines in powered armor, ready for boarding operations. The armor made each soldier stronger, faster, and nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. They had trained for years, waiting for a real fight. Now they would get one. In the fighter bay, pilot Ji-woo ran final checks on her Raptor fighter. The small craft was a work of art, equipped with engines that could accelerate to speeds no coalition fighter could match. She had 47 confirmed kills from previous missions against pirates and criminals. Today, that number would grow significantly. Admiral Tae-yang received reports from all his ships. Every vessel was ready, every crew was prepared. He opened another channel to the Coalition Command. Ambassador Krell, I need all Coalition forces to fall back behind our formation. Create a defensive sphere around Arcturus Station, but do not engage the Vrelians when they arrive. Admiral, we cannot hide while you fight our battle, Krell protested. You are not hiding, Ambassador. You are learning. Watch what we do. Study our tactics. Humanity will share our technology with you, but first, you must see what is possible. Krell wanted to argue, but something in Tae-yang's voice stopped him. The human admiral was not being arrogant. He was stating facts. Very well, Admiral. Coalition forces will observe and defend the station. Captain Hyejin, positioned Indomitable at the center of the human formation. The flagship was larger than the other vessels, its hull bristling with weapons that had never been fired in anger. Around her, the fleet arranged itself in patterns that looked random to coalition observers, but were actually based on complex mathematical principles. Every ship knew exactly where every other ship was positioned. They moved as one organism, connected by quantum-linked communication systems that transmitted data instantaneously across the entire fleet. Dr. Nari activated her quantum entanglement targeting arrays. Across all 500 ships, the targeting computers linked together, sharing data and calculations. If any human ship detected a target, every other ship would know about it immediately. The entire fleet could focus fire on a single enemy vessel or engage 500 different targets simultaneously with perfect coordination. Commander Bo-Ra gave final instructions to her wing leaders. 400 Raptor fighters sat in their launch bays, ready to deploy in seconds. Her pilots were calm. They had trained for this their entire careers. They knew what to do. The Vrelian main fleet detected the destruction of their scouts. Communications increased as enemy commanders tried to understand what had happened. Coalition translators picked up fragments of their conversations. Scouts destroyed at extreme range. Unknown weapons. Enemy fleet small but dangerous. Recommend caution. But the Vrelian commander, a proud warrior who had conquered 50 worlds, dismissed the warnings. 500 ships dare to face us? They are insects. Send the vanguard. 3,000 ships. Crush them. Admiral Tae Yang received intelligence reports on the approaching Vrelian vanguard. 3,000 warships were accelerating toward human positions. They would arrive in 30 minutes. He stood on the bridge of Indomitable, hands behind his back, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. Captain Heejin. Prepare the fleet for combat. Activate all weapon systems. Authorization code, Prometheus. Prometheus authorization confirmed, Hyojin replied. All ships are weapons-free. Across the human fleet, reactors increased power output. Weapons charged. Targeting systems locked onto enemy vessels that were still millions of kilometers away. Every human ship became a perfect killing machine, waiting for the order to fire. Lieutenant Dong-Wu watched his targeting display fill with red dots as the Vrelian vanguard approached. 3,000 enemy ships. He had fired at larger numbers during simulations. This would be easy. Pilot Jiwoo sat in her cockpit, feeling her fighter hum with power. She could not wait to launch. The Raptors were fast enough to chase down any enemy ship. Nothing could escape them. The coalition forces watched and waited. They did not understand what they were about to witness. They expected a battle, a long fight, where human and Vrelian ships would exchange fire for hours. They expected to see human vessels destroyed, to watch 500 brave ships die trying to stop an overwhelming enemy. They were about to learn that humans did not fight fair. Humans fought to win, completely and absolutely. And when humans went to war, they did not leave survivors unless they wanted to. Admiral Tae Yang's voice carried across every human ship in the fleet. All vessels, this is the Admiral. We are about to show the galaxy what Earth has built. Make every shot count. Show them precision. Show them power. Show them that humanity does not fear their numbers. The Vrelian vanguard entered weapons range, confident in their superiority. They were about to make a fatal mistake. The Vrelian vanguard came like a wave of steel and fire. 3,000 warships filled the space between stars, their hulls painted with the symbols of 100 conquered worlds. They moved in traditional battle formations that had crushed every enemy they had ever faced. Their weapons charged, ready to fire the plasma barrages that had melted countless coalition fleets into slag. On the bridge of Indomitable, Admiral Tae Yang watched the enemy approach with no expression on his face. Beside him, Captain Hyojin counted down the distance. Enemy fleet entering maximum weapons range in 30 seconds, Admiral. Hold fire, Tae Yang said calmly. Let them shoot first. I want them to understand how useless their weapons are. The Vrelian commander gave the order. 3,000 ships fired simultaneously. Plasma bolts, missiles, and energy beams crossed the void, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The coalition observers watching from their defensive positions around Arcturus Station held their breath. Some looked away, unable to watch the human fleet die. Lieutenant Dongwu watched the incoming fire on his tactical display and shook his head. Primitive, he muttered. They telegraph every shot. The plasma bolts and missiles reached the human formation and passed through empty space. Every human ship had phase shifted, their hulls existing in a slightly different dimension for exactly zero point 0.3 seconds. The enemy weapons hit nothing but vacuum. When the human ships phased back into normal space, they were completely undamaged. On Arcturus Station, Ambassador Krell stared at his sensor display in disbelief. What just happened? Where did they go? The sensor operator's hands trembled as he checked his equipment. They phased out of reality, Ambassador. I did not know that was possible. It is not possible, the Moth representative whispered. Not for anyone except humans, apparently. Admiral Tae Yang smiled coldly. Tactical Officer Yoonji, activate Protocol Prometheus. Full fleet synchronization. Show them what real weapons look like. Tactical Officer Yoonji was one of the youngest officers on the bridge, but her mind worked like a supercomputer. She coordinated the targeting data from all 500 ships, creating a firing solution that would hit 1,200 different targets simultaneously. Her fingers danced across her console. Solution calculated, Admiral. All ships ready to fire. Fire, Tae Yang said quietly. 500 human warships fired as one entity. Their railguns launched tungsten rods at 70% of light speed. Each projectile was guided by quantum-locked targeting systems that could track a single molecule across a star system. The rods crossed millions of kilometers in seconds, and every single one hit exactly where it was aimed. 1,200 Vrelian ships died in that first volley. The kinetic impacts punched through their shields like they did not exist, tore through their armor like paper, and shattered their hulls into fragments. Some ships exploded immediately. Others broke apart slowly, spilling atmosphere and crew into the void. In less than 5 seconds, the Vrelian vanguard lost 40% of its strength. The remaining Vrelian ships tried to return fire, but human point defense systems destroyed every incoming weapon. Laser grids vaporized missiles. Electromagnetic pulses scrambled guidance systems. Nothing reached the human fleet. Not one shot. Lieutenant Dongwu initiated the second wave. Missiles away, he reported. Full spread, 2,000 birds. Human missiles launched from every ship, small and fast and nearly impossible to detect until they were already killing you. The Vrelians tried to activate their point defense systems, but the human missiles deployed countermeasures that jammed their sensors. The Vrelian computers could not lock onto targets they could not see. The missiles hit home, detonating against hulls and rupturing reactors. Another 500 enemy ships exploded. Commander Bo-Ra's voice came over the command channel. Admiral, requesting permission to launch fighters. Permission granted, Tae Yang replied. Wing commanders, deploy your squadrons. Target enemy command vessels. 400 Raptor fighters launched from the human fleet, accelerating to speeds that made coalition observers think their sensors were broken. The small craft moved at velocities that should have torn them apart, but human inertial dampening technology kept the pilots safe. They crossed the battlefield in seconds, weaving between enemy ships with impossible precision. Pilot Jiwoo led her squadron straight toward the Vrelian flagship, a massive dreadnought that served as the Vanguard's command center. Her targeting computer identified the bridge, calculated the perfect angle of attack, and locked on. She fired 2 missiles from point-blank range, then pulled away so fast the enemy gunners could not even track her. The missiles hit the flagship's bridge with surgical precision. The explosion killed the entire Vrelian command staff instantly. The massive ship went dark, its systems failing as automated backups tried desperately to take control. It never succeeded. 3 more Raptor fighters hit it with follow-up strikes, and the flagship broke in half, both pieces tumbling through space like dead metal. Dr. Nari monitored the shield systems from her station. Admiral, our shields have not even been tested yet. The enemy cannot hit us. Good, Tae Yang said. Keep monitoring. If anything changes, I want to know immediately. Major Song-woo watched the battle from the Marine Bay, eager to join the fight. Captain, my Marines are ready for boarding operations. Give us targets. Captain Hye-jin checked the tactical display. Dozens of Vrelian ships were crippled but not destroyed, their crews still alive inside damaged hulls. Major, you have 27 targets. Board them. Take prisoners where possible. We want intelligence on their remaining forces. Understood, Captain. Marines, mount up. Sang Woo's 3,000 Marines loaded into boarding pods, small armored craft designed to punch through enemy hulls and deliver soldiers directly into hostile ships. The pods launched, crossing the battlefield in tight formations. Vrelian point defense tried to stop them, but human electronic warfare systems scrambled the enemy targeting computers. The pods hit their targets perfectly, drilling through armor and opening directly into enemy corridors. The Marines poured out of the pods, their powered armor making them nearly unstoppable. Vrelian soldiers tried to resist, but their weapons could not penetrate human armor. The boarding actions lasted less than 10 minutes. The Marines secured 27 ships without a single human casualty. Thousands of Vrelian prisoners were taken for interrogation. Commander Bo-Ra's fighters continued their assault, hitting enemy vessels with precision that seemed impossible. They did not dogfight. They did not waste ammunition. Every shot killed. Every missile found its target. The Raptor squadrons moved through the Vrelian formations like sharks through a school of fish, taking apart the enemy piece by piece. Pilot Ji-woo destroyed her 10th ship and immediately moved to the next target. Her fighter's computer identified a Vrelian cruiser trying to escape. She accelerated to maximum speed, caught up in seconds, and fired a single missile into its engine core. The cruiser exploded, and she was already moving toward her next kill. On Arcturus Station, the Coalition observers watched in complete silence. They had been preparing to see the human fleet destroyed. Instead, they were watching the Vrelian vanguard die. The mighty empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was being dismantled by a force 1/7 its size. Ambassador Krell's 6 arms hung limply at his sides. His voice was barely a whisper. This is not a battle. This is an execution. The Moth representative could not speak. She simply stared at the tactical display, watching red icons disappear one after another as human weapons found their marks. Her wings trembled uncontrollably. 8 minutes after the battle began, the Vrelian vanguard broke. The surviving ships turned and tried to run, abandoning their positions and fleeing in all directions. But human ships were faster. Human targeting systems could track fleeing vessels across light seconds of distance. The railguns fired again, and dozens more enemy ships died trying to escape. Admiral Tae Yang watched the enemy retreat with satisfaction. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, cease fire. Do not pursue. Let them run. Let them tell their commanders what they saw here. The human fleet stopped shooting. 500 warships hung in space, their weapons still charged, their crews still ready. Around them floated the debris of 1,200 destroyed Vrelian vessels and 800 crippled ones that had been captured. The battlefield was silent except for the occasional secondary explosion as damaged enemy ships lost containment. Lieutenant Dong-woo checked his casualty reports. Admiral, damage report from all ships. No casualties, no injuries. All vessels report full combat readiness. Tai Yang nodded as if this was expected. Excellent. Tactical Officer Yoon-ji, transmit our battle data to the Coalition Command. Let them see exactly how we achieve this. Engineer Yuna-'s voice came through the internal communication system. Admiral, reactor cores are still at 20% capacity. We barely tapped our power reserves. Understood, Engineer. Maintain current readiness. This is not over yet. Captain Hyojin studied the long-range sensors. Admiral, Vrelian survivors are retreating toward their main fleet. They will report what happened here within the hour. Good, Tae Yang said, his voice cold as ice. Let them come. Let them all come. We are ready. On Arcturus Station, Ambassador Krell finally found his voice. Admiral Tae Yang, I do not understand. How is this possible? How did you destroy 1,200 warships in 8 minutes? Tae Yang's face appeared on the station's main display. His expression was calm and matter-of-fact. Ambassador, what you witnessed was standard Terran combat doctrine. Nothing special. Nothing experimental. Just basic tactics and equipment that every human warship carries. Basic? Krell repeated in disbelief. You call this basic? Yes, Ambassador, basic. You have not seen what our fleet can really do. That was just the opening move. The communication ended, leaving the coalition representatives staring at each other in shock. Humanity had been hiding its strength for 200 years. Now they understood why. If this was basic, what did advanced look like? The surviving Vrelian ships from the Vanguard limped back to their main fleet, broadcasting warnings on every channel. Their commanders screamed about impossible weapons, about ships that could not be hit, about humans who fought like demons. The Vrelian Supreme Commander, a veteran of 300 battles, listened to the reports with growing anger. They destroyed 1,200 ships with 500, he roared at his officers. You expect me to believe this? You are cowards making excuses for your failure. His tactical officer, trembling with fear, pulled up the sensor data. Commander, the recordings do not lie. The human weapons are far beyond anything we have encountered. We should retreat and study them before attacking again. The Supreme Commander slammed his fist on his command throne. We do not retreat. We are the Vrelian Empire. We have conquered 50 species. We will not run from 500 ships. He turned to his communications officer. Send orders to the entire fleet. All 7,000 ships will advance together. We will crush these humans and show the galaxy that the Vrelian Empire cannot be stopped. On Indomitable, Admiral Tae-Yang received intelligence reports about the enemy decision. He smiled without humor. They are committing everything. 7,000 warships converging on our position. Estimated time of arrival, 40 minutes. Captain Hai-Jin studied the tactical projections. Admiral, this will be the largest fleet engagement in recorded galactic history. 10,000 ships from both sides in one battle. It will also be the shortest, Tae-Yang replied. Prepare the fleet for cascading thunder formation. It is time to show them what real coordination looks like. Across the human fleet, 500 ships began to rearrange themselves. To coalition observers, the movements looked chaotic at first. Ships moved in seemingly random directions, creating gaps and clusters that made no tactical sense. But then the pattern emerged. The human fleet arranged itself in fractal formations, each small group mirroring the larger whole. Every ship became a node in a massive three-dimensional web. Tactical Officer Yoon-ji coordinated the formation with precision that seemed superhuman. All ships in position, Admiral. Cascading thunder formation is locked. Quantum links are stable across the entire fleet. Dr. Nari activated a classified protocol that had never been used in actual combat. Admiral, requesting permission to activate Helios Protocol. Tai-Yang paused for just a moment. Helios was humanity's most devastating weapon system, so powerful that Earth Command had forbidden its use except in the most extreme circumstances. He looked at the tactical display showing 7,000 enemy ships approaching. This qualified as extreme. Permission granted, Doctor. Activate Helios Protocol. Route all fleet power to Indomitable. Nari's hands moved across her console with practiced efficiency. Helios Protocol activating. All ships will channel their reactor output to the flagship. Estimated total power output, beyond theoretical limits. Across the human fleet, every ship began transferring power to Indomitable through quantum-linked energy conduits. Engineer Yuna monitored her reactor systems as they ramped up to levels that should have been impossible. The reactor core glowed brighter than a small star, channeling energy that could power entire planets. On Indomitable's bridge, lights flickered as massive amounts of energy flowed into the flagship. The ship's hull began to glow with a pale blue light. Captain Hai-Jin watched her power displays climb to 300% of normal capacity, then 400%, then beyond. Admiral, we are drawing power from all 500 ships. Total energy output is exceeding all safety margins. Maintain power flow, Tae-Yang ordered. We only need to hold it for a few minutes. That is all this will take. Lieutenant Dongwu prepared the weapon systems for something they had never done before. His railgun arrays were now linked directly to the combined power of 500 reactors. Sir, the distributed targeting network is ready. Every ship is feeding targeting data to my station. I can see every enemy vessel perfectly. Commander Bo-Ra's fighter squadrons launched again, but this time they carried a new weapon. Experimental nanoswarms, tiny machines smaller than dust particles, designed to dismantle enemy ships at the molecular level. Her pilots scattered across the battlefield, positioning themselves for maximum effect. Pilot Ji-woo checked her payload. The nano-swarm canisters were loaded and ready. She had read the technical briefings about what these weapons could do. Part of her felt bad for the enemy, but only a small part. The Vrelians had destroyed too many innocent worlds to deserve mercy. Major Sang-woo's Marines prepared for another wave of boarding operations. Intelligence indicated that hundreds of enemy ships would be disabled but not destroyed. His job was to capture them and take prisoners. Marines, same drill as before. Fast entry, secure the ship, minimize casualties on both sides. Let's show them that humans can be merciful even while winning. The Vrelian main fleet entered sensor range. 7,000 warships in a formation so vast it looked like a metal planet. They accelerated toward the human position, weapons charging, ready to overwhelm the smaller force with sheer numbers. Admiral Tae-yang stood in the center of Indomitable's bridge, watching the enemy approach. Around him, his crew worked in perfect silence. No fear, no doubt. Just professional focus. Captain Hee-jin, you may fire when ready. Hee-jin activated the Helios weapon system. The flagship's forward hull opened, revealing a massive energy projector that channeled the combined power of 500 reactors into a single, coherent beam. The amount of energy flowing through that weapon was enough to ignite a small star. Firing, Hee-jin said calmly. A beam of pure antimatter shot from Indomitable, cutting through space at the speed of light. It hit the Vrelian formation like a sword cutting through paper. The beam was so powerful that shields did not matter. Armor did not matter. Nothing could stop it. Ships touched by that beam simply ceased to exist, their atoms torn apart and scattered. The beam swept across the Vrelian formation for 10 full seconds, cutting a path of destruction through their ranks. 2,000 enemy ships died in that single attack. The Vrelian formation broke apart as ships tried desperately to escape the terrible weapon. But they were too slow and too close together. Lieutenant Dongwoo activated the distributed railgun network. Every human ship fired simultaneously, their targeting coordinated so perfectly that not a single shot was wasted. Tungsten rods crossed the battlefield at relativistic speeds, guided by quantum computers that calculated every trajectory perfectly. 3,000 enemy ships were targeted. 3,000 enemy ships were hit. Most were destroyed instantly. Those that survived were crippled beyond repair. The Vrelian fleet was in complete chaos now. Ships scattered in all directions, abandoning formations, ignoring orders. Their commanders shouted contradictory instructions. Some ordered retreat. Others demanded they continue fighting. The result was pandemonium. Commander Bora's squadrons deployed their nanoswarms. Hundreds of canisters spread across the battlefield, releasing clouds of microscopic machines. The nanoswarms drifted toward enemy ships, appearing on sensors as nothing more than dust. But when they made contact with Vrelian hulls, they began their work. Pilot Ji-woo watched her targeting display as the nanoswarms reached their targets. Enemy ships began to fall apart as the tiny machines dismantled them molecule by molecule. Hulls developed holes. Weapon systems failed. Life support collapsed. The Vrelians inside those ships had time to send distress calls before their vessels simply dissolved around them. Dr. Nari monitored the Helios weapon as it cycled for a second shot. Admiral, weapon recharged, ready to fire again. Hold fire, Tae-yang ordered. I think they understand now. He was right. The Vrelian Supreme Commander, watching his fleet disintegrate around him, finally accepted reality. His flagship's communication systems were barely functional, damaged by a near miss from a human railgun. He broadcast on all frequencies, his voice filled with desperation. Human fleet, this is Supreme Commander Krelva of the Vrelian Empire. We surrender. We surrender. Please, stop firing. We surrender. Admiral Tae-yang let the silence stretch for a long moment before responding. Supreme Commander, your surrender is accepted. Order all your surviving ships to power down their weapons and shields. Any ship that continues to show hostile intent will be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to comply. Across the battlefield, Vrelian ships shut down their weapons. Shields dropped. Engines went to minimal power. The proud empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries now floated helpless in space, at the mercy of 500 human warships. Captain Hyjin scanned the battlefield. Admiral, 847 enemy ships have surrendered. The rest are destroyed or have fled the sector. Send in Major Sang-woo's Marines, Tae-yang ordered. Secure the surrendered vessels. Treat the prisoners well. We are not barbarians. Major Sang-woo's boarding pods launched again, targeting the surrendered ships. His Marines moved through enemy corridors, securing bridge after bridge, taking thousands of Vrillian soldiers into custody. Not a single human casualty. Not a single unnecessary death. Engineer Yuna began the process of powering down the Helios system. Admiral, reactor cores returning to normal levels. All ships report minimal power expenditure. We could fight this battle 3 more times without refueling. On Arcturus Station, Ambassador Krell and the Coalition representatives watched in absolute silence as the human fleet dismantled the Vrillian Empire in 23 minutes. 23 minutes. A war that had lasted 3 years, that had cost millions of lives, had just ended in less than half an hour. The Moth representative's wings drooped. Her voice was barely audible. What are they? How can any species be this powerful? Ambassador Krell shook his head slowly. I do not know, but I am grateful they are on our side. Admiral Tae-yang's face appeared on the station's communication screen. Ambassador Krell, the Arcturus sector is secure. The Vrillian Empire is no longer a military threat. We will remain here to help with reconstruction and to ensure they do not rise again. Admiral, I do not have words to thank you, Krell said. His 6 arms spread in a gesture of profound gratitude. You have saved the Coalition. You have saved us all. We did what needed to be done, Ambassador, nothing more. Now, if you will excuse me, I have prisoners to process and ships to repair. Earth sends its regards. The communication ended. The human fleet began recovery operations, collecting damaged ships, treating wounded prisoners, and restoring order to the sector. They worked with the same calm efficiency they had shown in battle, as if destroying an empire was just another routine task. 3 days after the battle, Arcturus Station had transformed from a place of desperation into a hub of activity and hope. Human ships patrolled the sector in careful patterns, their presence a guarantee that no enemy would threaten these worlds again. Coalition vessels, once battered and broken, were being repaired with human assistance. And in the station's Grand Council chamber, representatives from every Coalition species gathered to meet with humanity officially. Admiral Tae-yang stood before the Coalition Council, his uniform crisp and perfect despite the recent combat. Beside him stood Captain Hyjin, Lieutenant Dongwoo, Dr. Nari, Commander Bora, Major Sang-woo, Engineer Yuna, Pilot Ji-woo, and Tactical Officer Yoon-ji. The entire human command staff present to face the questions that every species wanted answered. Ambassador Krell spoke first, his 6 arms folded in a gesture of respect. Admiral Tae-yang, on behalf of the Coalition of Free Worlds, I thank you. Without Earth's intervention, we would all be dead or enslaved. You saved billions of lives. Tae-yang nodded politely. We did what was necessary, Ambassador. Nothing more. The Moth representative stood, her wings trembling slightly. Admiral, forgive my bluntness, but we must ask. What you displayed in battle was beyond anything we thought possible. Your weapons, your shields, your coordination. How long has Earth possessed such technology? Captain Hyjin answered this time, her voice calm and professional. Representative, everything you saw was standard equipment. We have had these capabilities for approximately 70 years. They are not new. They are not experimental. They are basic military assets. A ripple of shock moved through the council chamber. 70 years. Humanity had possessed weapons that could destroy empires for 70 years and had never revealed them. A tall alien with crystalline skin spoke up. His voice tinged with suspicion. Then why hide? Why watch the galaxy suffer while you had the power to help? Admiral Tae-yang met the alien's gaze steadily. Because we wanted to see if you could survive without us. The Coalition has existed for 800 years. You have faced many threats and overcome them through unity and determination. We did not want to create dependence. We did not want you to rely on Earth to solve all your problems. Dr. Nari stepped forward, her scientific mind choosing words carefully. Also, we were not certain how the galaxy would react to humanity's capabilities. Fear often leads to violence. We preferred to remain unknown until we were needed. Ambassador Krell nodded slowly, understanding the wisdom in that choice. And now, will Earth join the coalition? Not yet, Taoyang said, but we will establish a permanent military presence in coalition space. We will share some of our technology, starting with basic defensive systems and medical equipment. We will help rebuild what the Vrillians destroyed. And we will train your forces in new tactics and strategies. Commander Bo-Ra spoke next, her voice strong and confident. I have already begun working with coalition fighter pilots. They are skilled and brave. With proper training and better equipment, they will become formidable warriors. Major Sang-Woo added, my Marines have been teaching hand-to-hand combat techniques to coalition security forces. They learn quickly. Given time, they will be able to defend themselves against most threats. Engineer Yu Na presented technical data on coalition ships. We are establishing manufacturing facilities in 3 systems. These facilities will produce advanced reactor cores, shield generators, and weapon systems. Not as powerful as what we use, but far superior to current coalition technology. Within 1 year, your defensive capabilities will increase by a factor of 10. Pilot Jiwoo smiled slightly. And we are creating a joint training academy. Human and coalition pilots will train together, share knowledge, and build mutual understanding. The best pilots from all species will learn from each other. The coalition representatives looked at each other, hardly daring to believe what they were hearing. Humanity was offering to share technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Technology that could protect them from future threats. Technology that could ensure the coalition's survival. The Moth representative asked the question everyone was thinking. Why? Why share such valuable knowledge? What does Earth gain from this? Admiral Tae-Yang was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Earth gains allies, friends, partners. For 200 years, we watched the galaxy from a distance. We saw empires rise and fall. We saw species destroy each other over resources and ideology. We decided long ago that if we ever joined the galactic community, it would be as equals working together, not as conquerors imposing our will. Lieutenant Dong-Woo stepped forward with a data chip. This contains complete battle records from our engagement with the Vrillian fleet. Every sensor reading, every tactical decision, every weapon deployment. Study it, learn from it, ask questions. We will answer honestly. Tactical Officer Yoon-ji added, we want the coalition to understand that what you saw was not magic. It was science, engineering, and training. With time and effort, your species can achieve similar capabilities. We will help you get there. Ambassador Krell accepted the data chip with trembling hands. Admiral, this information is invaluable. You are giving us the keys to your military success. Why? Because the galaxy is a dangerous place, Taoyang replied. The Vrillian Empire was not the only threat out there. There are things in deep space that make the Vrillians look like children playing with toys. Humanity has been monitoring these threats for decades. If they ever come to this part of the galaxy, we will need every species fighting together with the best technology available. The coalition must be strong, not dependent on Earth's protection. A heavy silence fell over the council chamber. The implications of Tai Yang's words sank in slowly. There were worse things than the Vrillians, things that scared humanity despite their overwhelming power. The crystalline alien spoke again, his suspicion replaced with concern. What kind of threats are you talking about, Admiral? I cannot give you specifics yet, Tae-Young said. Our deep space monitoring stations are still gathering data, but I can tell you this. There are intelligent species in the dark regions beyond the galactic rim that view organic life as a resource to be harvested. They have technology that rivals our own. If they ever decide to expand into inhabited space, every species in this galaxy will need to fight together or die separately. Captain Hai-Jin added, that is why we revealed ourselves now. The Vrelian War proved the coalition could unite against a common enemy. You have shown the strength and determination necessary to survive what may be coming. Earth believes you deserve the chance to prepare. Over the following weeks, human ships worked alongside coalition forces to rebuild the devastated systems. Major Sangwoo's Marines helped establish security on liberated worlds, training local forces and hunting down Vrelian remnants. Commander Bo-Ra's pilots ran constant training exercises with coalition fighters, sharing techniques and building camaraderie. Dr. Nari's science teams set up research facilities where human and alien scientists worked together to develop new technologies. Engineer Yuna oversaw the construction of the first joint human coalition shipyard. The massive facility would build vessels incorporating both human and alien design philosophies, creating something greater than either could achieve alone. She stood in the construction bay, watching alien workers install advanced human reactor systems, and smiled. This was the future, not conquest, not dominance, partnership. Pilot Jiwoo found herself becoming a minor celebrity among coalition fighter pilots. Young pilots from a dozen species wanted to learn from the ace who had destroyed the Vrelian flagship. She taught them willingly, impressed by their dedication and skill. Some of them were naturally talented enough to match human pilots given proper training and equipment. Lieutenant Dongwoo ran weapons training programs, teaching coalition gunners the principles of precision targeting and ammunition conservation. Many of the alien students struggled at first with concepts that seemed obvious to humans, but they learned. They adapted. They improved. Tactical Officer Yoonji worked with coalition fleet commanders, teaching them how to coordinate large formations and use quantum-linked communication systems. The aliens were amazed by the level of coordination possible when every ship could share data instantaneously. Within months, coalition tactical doctrine had transformed completely. Admiral Tai Young spent his time in diplomatic meetings, carefully negotiating the terms of humanity's presence in coalition space. Some species wanted Earth to take complete control. Others feared human dominance. He navigated these concerns with patience and skill, building trust slowly but surely. 6 months after the battle, the first coalition ship equipped with human technology completed its trials. The vessel, a joint human-alien design, demonstrated capabilities far beyond what coalition forces had possessed before. It was not as powerful as a human warship, but it was close enough to make a difference. Production began immediately. Ambassador Krell stood with Admiral Tae Yang on Arcturus Station, looking out at the newly rebuilt sector. Human and coalition ships patrolled together in mixed formations. Trading vessels moved freely between systems that had been war zones just months before. Reconstruction crews worked around the clock to repair the damage of 3 years of war. "We owe humanity everything," Krell said quietly. "We will never be able to repay this debt." Taeyang shook his head. "There is no debt, Ambassador. We are allies now, partners. When the real threat comes, we will fight together as equals. That is all the payment Earth requires." "The real threat," Krell repeated. "You truly believe something worse than the Vrelians is coming?" "I know it is, Ambassador. Our deep space sensors detected movement 3 weeks ago. Something massive is stirring in the dark regions beyond the galactic rim. It is too far away to identify clearly, but it is moving toward inhabited space. Slowly, but steadily. We estimate 5 to 10 years before it reaches coalition territory." Krell's 6 arms trembled. 5 to 10 years to prepare for an enemy that scares humanity. I do not know if that is enough time. "It will have to be," Taeyang said. "But you will not face it alone. Earth stands with the coalition now. Together we are stronger than anything we could be separately. And when whatever is coming finally arrives, it will learn the same lesson the Vrelians learned." "What lesson is that?" Krell asked. Admiral Taeyang smiled, his eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "That humanity does not abandon its friends, that we fight to win, completely and absolutely, and that anyone who threatens the species we call allies will face the full strength of Earth's military power. No mercy, no quarter, just total victory." Far away, in the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, something ancient and vast detected the energy signatures from the Battle of Arcturus. It analyzed the data, calculated probabilities, and adjusted its course slightly. The organic species in this galaxy were more advanced than expected. That would make harvesting them more challenging, but not impossible. Nothing was impossible for the collective. The entity continued its slow journey toward the light, patient and relentless. It had consumed 1,000 galaxies over millions of years. One more would barely be noticed. The humans and their allies would fight, of course. Organic species always did. But they always lost in the end. Or so the collective believed. It had never encountered humanity before. That would be its final mistake.